Hey, how you doing, everyone? Welcome back. So it turns out that the 900cc class of motorcycles might actually be coming back after 20 odd years. So there's an article here on Visor that is talking about world superbikes, and it's rumoured that a YZF-R9 might actually be in the works. Now, I'm not sure exactly which way round it goes, whether a manufacturer will develop for world superbikes first and then the road bike version of it second. But there's huge potential here for an R9 super sports that we could actually buy for road use. And I think it's an absolutely fascinating idea because apparently, according to this article, it's about replacing the R6. Where does it say it? Yeah, a bike to replace the R6. Now, of course, the way how the Yamaha lineup goes at the moment is that you've got the R1, you've got the R7, you've got the R6, and the R3, and the R125, if you want to include that one as well. But the issue is that as much as everyone hoped that the R7 would be kind of a replacement for the R6 here in Europe, that's not really the case. The R6 is a totally different animal to the R7. And so instead, it looks like Yamaha might be looking at an R9 to replace the R6, which I think is a really interesting idea, and I wasn't expecting it whatsoever, but it looks like it's going to be a 3-cylinder cross-plane engine, so it's going to be quite similar, I think, to the likes of the Street Triple, the Speed Triple from Triumph. And, I mean, yeah, apparently according to this article, when it comes to emission standards in Europe, it looks like motorcycle manufacturers get a little bit of extra leeway when it comes to bigger displacement capacity in the engines. I don't know exactly what makes that or how that works, why a bigger engine would be more eco-friendly or come under the emissions guidelines better than a smaller engine would. I don't know the ins and outs of that. But still, if this is true, then it might actually be incentivizing a lot of manufacturers to go with larger engine capacities, especially around 3 cylinders. I mean, the difference between 4 cylinders and 2 cylinders are significant in the vast majority of circumstances, and in the vast majority of bikes, an inline 4 or a V4 will outperform a parallel twin or a V twin every time. But a 3-cylinder might be the perfect bridge between those two engine designs. A parallel twin or 2 cylinders and 4 cylinders, this might actually be the perfect substitute for these bikes. Let's take a look at this article quickly. So a Yamaha R9 has been rumoured for quite some time now, but rumours from the World Superbike paddock suggest it could be on the way by the end of the year. This week at World Superbiking testing in Portimao, ahead of the start of its 2024 season in Phillip Island at the end of February, Eurosport commentator Greg Haynes is present there and picked up on a rumour suggesting that the Yamaha R6 could be about to start its final season with the World Supersport Championship. The current 599cc R6 debuted 7 years ago in 2017 and won every title from then until 2022, till it lost out last year to a 955cc Ducati Panigale V2. That is quite a significant bump in displacement, although, again, you're talking inline 4 versus V2, 4 cylinders versus 2 cylinders. That's the difference that 4 cylinders actually has over a 2-cylinder. They're almost as quick as a 1 litre and a V2, no less. But what else have we got here? It's also a bike which has not been marketed as a road bike for several years. You can only buy one now as a kitted track bike, which is fine, but not exactly the basis for the kind of guaranteed financial success a 600cc sport bike once was. Further, the R6 is accompanied by only 2 other 600cc bikes in the World SSP grid in 2024, the ZX6R and CBR 600RR. Although both won races last year, it's hard to argue that either were consistently competitive with other machinery, even the R6. So, of course, you can kind of see the motivation here that they want a motorcycle that can compete with Ducati's offering in World Superbikes. So a bump up in displacement makes a lot of sense. To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure about what the rules are when it comes to World SSP or World Superbikes. I don't know. So, I mean, clearly it must be legal, otherwise they wouldn't be developing this kind of platform, at least the rumor that they're developing this kind of platform. But I'm a street bike user, so when we're coming at this kind of stuff, we're coming at it from a street bike perspective, all right? Interesting. Since 2022, the super sport class has been revolutionized by new regulations that allow larger capacity bikes like the aforementioned Panigale V2 to compete. Okay, so that might answer our question about the rules. So since 2022, that might be the first season that the Panigale V2 was allowed to compete. And so it looks like, Triumph Street Triple and MV Agusta F300. So it makes sense that Yamaha are going to take advantage of these new rules to start winning titles again. And it wouldn't surprise me, actually, if Honda and Kawasaki decide to follow suit, or maybe even Suzuki for that matter. Do Suzuki have a bike in World Superbikes these days? Gosh, I don't even know. A Yamaha R9 would also take advantage of these new regulations, but it would be the most extreme example by getting a cross-plane 890cc 3-cylinder to compete with a conventional 765cc 3-cylinder, for example, as well as any remaining 4-cylinder 600s, and a 798cc 3-cylinder F3800, and the 955 Panigale Twin. But this is the potential reality suggested by Haynes, who said that an R9 should be expected. Yeah, on Twitter, some news that I heard at the test in Jerez regarding World Supersport. No more Yamaha i6 next year, expect the R9 instead. Fascinating. Of course, for an R9 to be eligible in the production-based World Supersport Championship, one would have to be produced and marketed to the public, which means we could expect one on showroom floors by the beginning of next year if it were to be an immediate replacement in WSSP for the R6. Okay, well, there we go. We're learning here. So these bikes have to be production bikes. They have to be bikes that the public can buy, or at least might be able to buy in future. Again, I don't know which one would come first, but clearly Yamaha would have to submit this idea to the governing bodies. I don't know. I mean, you'd have thought it'd be a season prior, wouldn't you? But yeah, we're getting an R9, guys. That is insane. An R9, that is, oh wow, that's going to be sick. I'd love to get my hands on one. Last year, Yamaha acquired the patent names for R9 and YZF-R9 in Europe, Japan, India, amongst other places. This was in addition to a number of other trademarks such as R2 and R4, and the same YZF included. Fascinating. An R2 and an R4. Okay, well, the R4 might be taking a similar kind of stance to Kawasaki ZX4R, which is the small bore 4. That's a fantastic little bike, but I'd be curious what Yamaha can come up with. There might be another 3-cylinder. Who knows? Maybe Yamaha are going to go all in on the 3-cylinders, but yeah, man, it looks like we might be seeing an R9. Crazy how back in the day, the 900cc class was the flagship class of production motorcycles, and they were the one to have if you wanted to get the best of the best from any manufacturer. It probably would have been a 900cc in the 90s or so. But in fact, I don't know, has Yamaha ever had a 900cc kind of sport bike? I'm going to have a quick look here. Okay, so there are a few. Okay, XJ900. All right. Of course, yeah, the MT-09, but not exactly a sport bike from Yamaha. Lots of sport tourers, a few nakeds. Well, I mean, just from this quick little search here, it doesn't look like Yamaha have got or have had a motorcycle in the 900cc class for quite a while now in the sport category, or super sport range. So yeah, honestly, fair play to him, and I'm really curious how it would perform against my ZX-9R, because that was arguably the heyday of 900cc bikes when Honda had their 929, 954, Kawasaki ZX-9R. I mean, Suzuki, they had the Gixxer 750, didn't they? But yeah, how funny. What a funny little kind of revelation this might be, you know? And if it's true that these bikes have to be based off of production models, then the likelihood of us seeing an R9 in the next couple of years or so at showrooms is pretty high, it seems, at this rate. Now, I should probably reiterate, rather, that this is only a rumour, and I don't know, maybe Yamaha won't have a bike next year for World Superbikes whatsoever. All they've done so far is confirm that the R6 will not be competing in next year in the next season. So I don't know, you'd expect Yamaha to come up with a replacement, but if Suzuki don't have a bike in World Superbikes at the moment, then who knows? Maybe Yamaha might think it's not for them anymore, and that happens. It kind of goes round in cycles where manufacturers will go through a period of manufacturing bikes for racing to kind of prop up their brands, make their bikes seem really cool and everything, especially when they start winning titles. But when the R&D budget runs out, maybe they just stop for a few seasons and then come back a few seasons later. Who knows? I mean, that's happening in Formula One all the time. It's happening in motorsport all the time, where manufacturers are constantly changing whether or not they're in or out of leagues and competitions. So, I don't know. I suppose we'll have to wait and see at the end of this year. But, I mean, already in 2024, we've had some massive surprises with the return of the ZX6R and the CBR 600RR, which is probably why they're still in the WSSP rather. And so, yeah, maybe this is a good platform to actually see what bikes manufacturers are looking to put out in the near future. This hasn't been confirmed yet. All right, these are just rumours, but I still think it's going to be a fantastic idea. And the fact that Yamaha have submitted copyright for patent names rather for R9, YZF-R9, and R2 and R4. I know that R2 and R4, they're probably just keeping their options open in future for motorcycles that they might want to do. But right now, seeing as they're looking to have a motorcycle replacing the R6 in the motorsport, then yeah, it's all pointing to an R9, and I'm all for it, man. So what can we expect from an R9 Supersport? It's got to be close to 200 horsepower. I mean, I say that the R1 is currently at 200 horsepower, so I don't know, maybe we could expect 150, 160-ish horsepower from an R9. So it would be a bit of an upgrade or a step up from an R6, which would be amazing if they could do that. Or they'll go in the opposite direction, where they will literally just have an R9 to perform as well as an R6. I don't know. That sounds a bit silly if you ask me. What would be the point in having an R9 platform if you're not going to make the most of what that engine could do? And 600cc sport bikes traditionally were really pushed to perform as best as they possibly can with the displacement that they had. So I would expect Yamaha to do a lot with this platform, and it might be nipping at the heels of the R1. But I don't know. They've got to try and fit it in somewhere within their own roster. They don't want to cannibalize their own product lines. So it would have to be something between 160 and 180 horsepower, I'd expect. Maybe, I don't know, 100 or so newton meters of torque, something like that. I would expect it to be more powerful than my ZX-9R. That's the kind of image that I've got in my head. I suppose it remains to be seen, but yeah, man, I think this is a great step forward. And I know that emission standards and things like that are really annoying in a lot of ways, because manufacturers have to stop these classic motorcycles. They have to stop production of these classic bikes. But it is creating some innovation in the space now, and it's kind of turned the market on its head. What were established motorcycles are no longer classes that the manufacturers can keep selling anymore. So it forces them to think a little bit more outside the box with engine designs and all that good stuff. So I'm really looking forward to what we have in store for the next couple of years. I mean, Kawasaki are killing it right now with a huge roster of motorcycles that they've got now, and it was becoming a little bit stale, not just on Kawasaki's part, but on every manufacturer's part. The motorcycles they had on their roster from new were becoming stale. They had 10 bikes, it's something ridiculous. 12 bikes, that's all they had. Whereas now they've got close to 20 bikes, and you kind of expect every manufacturer to have between 15 and 20 bikes on their roster. Because they should, they absolutely should. They need to be catering for as many different audiences as possible, and us bikers are quite picky with the bikes that we want to ride. So an R9 might not be for everyone, but those people that were hardcore 600cc sport bike riders will definitely be interested in this. And I don't know, maybe it will help kind of push people towards an R1 as well. Maybe it'll be a bit of an upsell for Yamaha, where if someone's coming in looking for an R9, well, they'll be like, hey, look at this fancy R1 though instead. Look, it's got a little more horsepower, got a little more torque, has a little bit higher top speed, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, to be fair, an R9 should be able to top out 186 mile an hour, I think. So, yeah, I think it'd be fascinating to see what this bike has to offer when we do see the specs, the paper specs of this bike. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it looks like as well, man. I think it's going to be fun. What these manufacturers are going to have in store for us in the next couple of years, I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, so far though, we've seen Honda, we've seen Yamaha now, and Kawasaki put forward their lineups with the new emission standards. Now, the only one that we need now is Suzuki. Suzuki, come on, where are you, man? We need to see what you've got in the pipeline here. We need to see some bikes. 1000s, I mean, is a Gixxer 1000 for sale anymore? I don't think it is. It was dropped, I think, last year or the year before, something like that. So you guys have got to step it up. You've got to find something. Come on, we need more competition in the space. That's what we need. The more that we have of this innovation, the more we have of this stuff, the better it is for us as consumers. So I'm all for this stuff. And hopefully one day, if they do come out with an R9, I'm going to have a go on it, for sure. But anyway, everyone, thank you for joining me today on our first look at these R9 rumours. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think a 900cc 3-cylinder is something that Yamaha should be pursuing, or should they be going for the more traditional 4-cylinders instead, or maybe even parallel twins? Who knows? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But it'd be interesting to see what kind of engine design it has. I imagine it's going to be a traditional inline 3, but I don't know. Could you have a V3 configuration? I don't know. That would be interesting as well, wouldn't it? But we'll have to wait and see what it's going to look like. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know what you expect out of this R9. If you are a prospective buyer of this bike, what would you expect it to be, and how would you expect it to perform, and also what price range would you expect it to be at? It's probably going to be a little bit more expensive than the old 600s, maybe 12 to 14 grand, maybe from new. Could be what we're expecting there in terms of price range. But yeah, we'll see what happens, I suppose. Thanks again, everyone. Take care, ride safe, leave that like, get subscribed, hit that notification bell, and we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.